Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 13 now of the TriStar Sports Show. Jamie and I are back here once again talking NFL football from the previous week, and we're going to highlight the upcoming weekend's games.
What's up, guys?
Jamie, we didn't have the greatest week of picking games. We came off of a rough week of college football, and the NFL Sunday did not make it any better, did it?
It did not. We went. We both had losing records, and if you watched last week, you saw that the only game where we picked against each other on was the Thursday night football game, and that was the only difference maker because Tegan got it right, whereas I got it wrong. So he had a whopping 6-8 record on the week, while I had a 5-9 record. Not the best. Brings me back below 500 after I worked so hard to get back above 500 on the year, and you're still above 500, but it's getting close.
It is.
At 43-35 now overall for you.
It seems like the only bright spot of my weekend this past weekend was the Titans did not play. But so which the Niners lost, unfortunately for you, and which we'll get into here in a second. But yeah, I think just a tough week of football. I think it was a tough one to predict, even if for people who weren't picking on like their team's game. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone on ESPN had that great of a week picking or whatnot, just because a lot of weird games, upsets, and I don't know. Just wild week of football, and that's the beauty of the sport. I mean, that's what brings you back. I mean, you hate it in the moment, but when it's the off season, you're like, man, I would do anything for a Sunday Saturday or Sunday where we see some weird stuff happen, and here we are. So if we want to pull up last week's games, we can kind of go through game by game what on earth happened.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can you see it?
There we go. All right.
Got it.
So the Thursday night game, like you mentioned, was Falcons Bucks. It was in Atlanta on Thursday night.
This one was exciting.
It was. It was indeed, and it went to overtime. A lot of offense. I think Kirk Cousins finished with 500 passing yards.
Yeah, he threw over 500. It was like 510 or something. I don't know how many Baker ended up with, but yeah, I don't know. It was an exciting game to say the least. I know Tegan and I were both a little upset after the game because we both had Bijan Robinson over 25 receiving yards, and I think he ended up with 11. And we were just upset because out of the 500 yards that Kirk Cousins decided to pass for, 25 of them couldn't go to Bijan.
The more frustrating thing was watching it was there was a couple swing passes that would have counted towards yards, but the ball was deemed behind.
Oh my gosh, really? I didn't even see those.
Yeah, there was a couple early, and instead of it being a reception and run, it ends up being just a glorified pitch at the end of the day, rushing yards. So, which that sucked, but I don't even think he would have hit the 25 anyways with all that combined. But
yeah, they continue to not. Seems like they don't use him as much, or don't. I don't know. I would be giving him the ball a lot more if I were the Falcons. But hey, they won. Darnell Mooney has been playing really well in this offense for some reason. I mean, I'm here for it. I know he had one pretty good year at the Bears a couple of years ago, and we haven't really heard from him since. But yeah, Falcons got to win a big division win.
We've been getting some good Thursday night football games this year, I feel like, too.
We have been.
In years past, it seems like Thursday has been the game that everybody kind of is like meh about, going into the week. But if you add Thursday nights into being good football games and shootouts or whatever we got, it's just going to add to the slate. And I'm here for it, and hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, no kidding. So kicking off Sunday, bright and early. I don't know if any of y'all woke up and watched this game. I personally did not. But yeah, Vikings and Jets in, was it London?
Yep, it was a London game.
Yeah, and we both thought the Jets were going to end the Vikings' reign of undefeatedness, and they did not. The Vikings found a way to win, and it seemed to kind of derail the Jets' season a little bit because as of today, I don't know. Do we want to hit on this now or hit on it before week 6?
You might as well. I mean, they lost.
Yeah,
It's a,
I mean, yeah. So after they lost, and we just found out today that Robert Saleh is no longer the head coach of the Jets. He was fired today. I thought it was surprising. I didn't see it coming. I don't know if you did. I don't
I
really know if
thought
anyone did.
I thought it was something we could probably see at the end of the season. I was not expecting a mid-season firing, but
Right,
to be
a
honest,
5 week
with
in firing.
the way that they've been playing and the way that they built their roster, they should be playing a lot better than they have. So I
I'd
don't
agree with
know.
that.
I mean, you're running out of time with Aaron Rodgers, so I don't know. I don't know if that was necessarily the smartest decision. When you fire your coach and bring on an interim head coach, it normally goes one or two ways. You either rally around the new guy and make a little bit of a run, or you just kind of suck for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and
And
I don't know too much about
I don't
their
think they have
interim.
Rodgers signed past this year. So I don't know why they would kind of waste that last possible year with him with this situation, but if they thought that was the best decision for him, then by all means, go for it.
I could be wrong, but I believe I also saw that Salah's contract was up after this year too,
Yeah,
which
I would
just
not be
kind of
surprised.
adds to why didn't they just wait till the end of the year?
I mean, I saw his record. It wasn't pretty. I don't know if it. I don't remember the exact numbers. It was like 18 and 26 or somewhere in that ballpark. Ballpark. It just wasn't.
With a lot of different starting quarterbacks under his tenure.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that is a fair point, but I don't know it. I mean, I think Rogers had 3 interceptions in this game on Sunday
Yeah,
morning. I don't want to say it, but he looks old. He looks really old and no longer
those
good.
games are always weird, though.
They are weird, but this is how he's looked all season so far,
That's true.
and he's already banged up again with now a knee injury and an ankle injury,
Right.
and then coming off of a full season gone with an Achilles. You hate to see legendary football players kind of derail at the end of their career, and hindsight's 2020, but you almost wish he kind of just retired before he ever went to the Jets and kind of
Yeah.
retire on top. Because now he just looks angry on the sidelines because he knows he can't play the way he used to. Do I think he's still good enough to start in the NFL? Yes, but do I think he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL right now? No. He's just like he can go out there and do the bare minimum, but is that really what you want out of your quarterback? Probably not.
It's not. But on the flip side of things, the Vikings keep rolling. They're 5-0. They're one of the only 2 undefeated teams in the league right now. Sam Darnold, he does look like a top 15 quarterback in the league as of now.
I mean, one thing I will say is I did actually watch this game. The Vikings, this is the worst they've looked all season. But they did.
They did.
They won. They won.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Which honestly just shows that I think that they're even more legit than they were. That they didn't play their prettiest game on offense and they still won by a touchdown against a Jets team who is in dire need of a win, and
Mm-hmm.
they still found a way. So kudos to the Vikings. I don't know when they're going to lose next, but we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, who knows? We'll have to keep watching, keep tuning into the Vikings for sure. Um, Next up, we got the Panthers Bears. This game, Panthers kind of crashed back to earth, don't you think?
Yeah, I think the whole Andy Dalton experiment is what I think over. I don't think they're giving the keys back to Bryce Young just yet. However, they probably should. I not saying either one of them really gives him a chance to win right now, but I think you'd rather probably just see Bryce Young out there because you spent a number 1 draft pick on him.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams is starting to turn it up a little bit. You start seeing some flashes from him.
Absolutely. I know.
I
I
think,
picked him up in our league in absence of Jalen Hurts, and he had a pretty good week for me in fantasy.
yeah, he's starting to play good. The Bears defense is starting to play good. This was a perfect scheduling situation for them to kind of
Right.
play the Panthers and get right. And I think we predicted that would happen and they would win by a good margin. And sure enough, they did. So
Yeah, we sure did. We had the Bears there, and yeah, you want to take the next game?
yeah, so the Commanders against the Browns. Commanders were the home team. Two things notable from this game. One, Deshaun Watson looks really bad. I've kind of said it multiple times already this season. I don't know why he's still. They made such a mistake giving him as much money as they did, especially with all the
Yeah.
off the field issues he had. You would have thought they would have been a little more cautious, just in case something truly came into fruition from all those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I want to take from this game is Jane Daniels is really good. He's really good.
Really good.
Throwing, running, he does it all. And I mean, I don't know how many points they've scored this year, but their offense has got to be near the top in the NFL. I mean, they put up 34 with ease, and the Browns' defense ain't a joke. Um, between Myles Garrett and some of their DBs, I mean, they're not a bad defense by any means. They got outplayed, and if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I know your backup is only Jameis Winston, but at this point, with how many good players you have on your team, I would just give it a shot because Watson's not giving you a chance to win right now.
At the very least, Jameis Winston's going to come in and be fun to watch. He's going to sling it. He's going to throw it all around. It might not. I mean, it might not always give you the best outcomes, but could he really be doing worse than what Deshaun's doing right now? I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, at least it'd be something to look forward to watch. The Browns are not a watchable team right now. They're not. I I tuned into that game for maybe a little bit of the first quarter, and that was about all I wanted to see of that. So,
Absolutely. Real quick, I just wanted to point out I did make a mistake when tallying up our scores. For whatever reason, I listed the Bears as a loss this week, even though I know whenever I was looking at it earlier, I knew they won. So add one win and subtract one loss from both of our records this week. Not as bad, still not great.
so
You were
seven
seven
and
and
seven
nine.
for
Uh,
7-7,
seven,
right?
7-7. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You were 7-7. I was 6-8. Brings my record to 39-39, and your record to 44-34.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Hey, I'll keep an eye out in case I missed any other ones. I did it in a little bit of a hurry this week. But yeah, next we got Patriots Dolphins, and this one was surprising to me. We both thought the Patriots were going to win and come out there. We thought the Titans I mean, we didn't really think that you needed too much of a blueprint to be the Dolphins without Tua, but we thought that the Patriots could definitely go out there and do what the Titans did to them and just kind of run the ball, control the clock, and let their defense do the rest. And the Dolphins found a way to get it done.
This was a very, very ugly game. I was tuning into it every so often, and it was a tough watch. There was a lot of field goals by the Dolphins in this one. Anytime they got any sort of momentum, it just fell apart with some stupid. I mean, the best way to call it is it was a mid off. It really was until Tua, if he plays again this season for the Dolphins. Until that happens, the Dolphins are going to be a tough team to watch, root for, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. Which is a shame with how good of a receiving core they have and running back room. And I
We
don't
got to
know.
see a little bit more Jalen Wright this week. He's been
We did. You did.
slowly getting a little bit more. I know Devon Achane went down with a concussion, which you always hate to see, but if a player's gonna get hurt, right before a bye week isn't the worst time to get hurt. Hopefully, he can come back coming out of the bye week. Yeah, this game also marked, I guess, the end of Jacoby Brissett's time as the starting quarterback at the Patriots, because we also learned today that going forward, Drake May will be the starter. So I don't know how that'll turn out, but it's something new to watch, I guess.
Yeah, I think it'll add a little bit of something different to see when the Patriots take the field. My only
Right.
concern is are they going to keep him healthy?
Who
Brissett
knows?
gets hit a ton, and I think that was part of the reason why they didn't want to throw Drake May out there right away.
Right.
But I think Robert Kraft probably saw enough and told Gerard Mayo it's time to use the number 3 draft pick that we just spent on and
Yeah.
let the boy play. And we'll see what happens this coming week.
Yeah. Absolutely. Last thing I want to hit on that game is we learned kind of late into the week that Antonio Gibson would be starting over Ramondre Stevenson due to Ramondre Stevenson actually having a fumble in each of their first 4 games. Definitely had some trouble taking care of the ball. They gave Antonio Gibson the start, which led a lot of people to believe, okay, Antonio Gibson's going to be the guy going forward at running back. Stevenson still outcarried him by a large margin. I don't know the exact number, but just because he didn't start did not mean that he wasn't still their guy. So I don't know what's going to happen going forward. I don't know if it'll just be more of a committee, but it seems like if you're a fantasy owner of Ramondre Stevenson, hopefully you didn't drop him when you heard that news, because he's still getting a good amount of work in that offense.
Yeah, so then next up we had Colts Jags. We had an AFC South matchup. Jags finally got their first win on the season, so good for them.
Called it. We did.
As a Titans fan, don't care for either one of these teams. Ended up being a way more crazy game than I could have anticipated. Joe Flacco somehow, doesn't matter what uniform you put him in, seems like he doesn't age. I don't know what's up with that. Trevor Lawrence had a pretty solid game this week. He did throw one really bad interception that I was watching. But the Colts wouldn't go away. There was multiple times in this game where the Jags got up 2 scores and the Colts just climbed their way back in it. In the second half, they just had all these crazy big plays to Alec Pierce, which is a name that's kind of starting to pop up in the fantasy world, or just in the front of people's minds. There was a name that really hasn't been thrown around, but Alec Pierce, that's a name to watch out for. He played really well in this game. Flacco seems to really like throwing it to him. So as long as Flacco's there, I would not be shocked if Pierce has continuous success. I know the Colts coming up, which we'll talk about, playing the Titans. So hopefully we take care of that. But yeah.
Any news on the starting quarterback in that game?
For which team?
For the Colts.
Because the Titans have their own issues. But I don't know. I haven't really seen anything about Anthony Richardson. I'm going to assume he's probably not coming back anytime soon based off of it being a hip injury.
Right, that's true.
But the Colts haven't necessarily protected him, so
they've kind of done the opposite of that.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's crazy to say that if the Colts had Jonathan Taylor, they probably would have snuck this game out with the way they were passing the ball. Trey Sermon didn't do terrible, but he doesn't have the explosiveness that Jonathan Taylor does. Also, I believe, did Etienne, was he hurt before the game or did he go down during the game? I know Bigsby had a pretty big game and he's on the injury report.
I think Etienne was
going into the game.
I think Etienne played, or at least a little bit. So,
well, he's hurt this week. We don't know if he'll play or not. Okay. And Bigsby had a decent game against the Colts, especially if you're an Etienne owner. If you're not, it's still not the worst waiver wire pickup if you're looking at somebody in the fantasy world. But yeah, next we got Texans-Bills, and this game kind of low scoring, but we expected it to be close. It just didn't go our way. I mean, Texans pulled it out. We thought that the Bills would bounce back after a bad loss to the Ravens last week on Sunday Night Football, or 2 weeks ago on Sunday Night Football. And I don't know. I mean, the Bills, they started off the season really hot, and now they're kind of going through a slump. But it's not like they've lost to bad teams. They've lost to the Ravens at home in a tough environment, and they lost to the Texans at home. I think they'll get it right, turn things around as the season goes forward.
Yeah, the only thing with this game was, as a takeaway, I don't think, I know the Texans are 4-1 right now, but I still don't even think they're firing at all cylinders.
Yeah.
Which
they still don't have Mixon back.
And Nico Collins also went down in that game. I don't know what his status is going forward. I mean, the Bills had a really questionable coaching decision late in this game. They had the ball backed up in their own 5-yard line with less than a minute to go, and they threw it 3 straight times for 3 straight incompletions and only took 10 seconds off the clock. And this was a tie game at the point. And then they had a punt from the back of their own end zone and set up the Texans with field position and field goal range, and they kicked it and won. So,
dang, I didn't know that.
The confusing situation is the announcers were making it seem like it was the dumbest coaching decision they've ever seen, which I don't necessarily agree with, solely for the fact that the Texans had all 3 timeouts. So if they ran the ball 3 straight times anyways, you wouldn't have really burned any more clock.
Right.
But you would have at least made them use their timeouts, but all that really didn't matter anyways based off of the punt. I don't know. It was kind of weird. I would have at least they went the weirdest part was Josh Allen threw it deep 3 straight times.
Right.
So they didn't try to pick up a first down or anything like that, but I don't know. Bills are still a good team. Texans are a good team, but Bills are slightly not playing as well as they were at the beginning of the season, and Texans are finding ways to win, but I don't know how long that's going to last when they keep playing good teams. So,
right, absolutely. The next game, another game that we thought was going to be a good game, just didn't go our way. 2 back-to-back 3-point losses. What do you got to say about this one?
This one, another shootout that we got this week. Bengals really had this game, controlled this game for the entire game. They had the ball up 7, I think, with about 3 minutes to go. And Joe Burrow threw an interception when they were driving down the field. And it was kind of a weird interception. Then Ravens, tied it up, and we saw overtime. And then Evan McPherson, I think, missed a field goal in overtime to win it. And then the Ravens got the ball back, and Derrick Henry had one of his classic overtime runs, took it all the way down to the 5-yard line. Then they just decided to kick it and won. It was a really, really great game. Burrow and Lamar combined for 9 passing touchdowns. I know that. It was an all-time classic AFC North matchup, and unfortunately for the Bengals, now they fall to 1-4. And
right, that's not a good place to be in.
That's a tough hole to dig yourself out of. I think they were running some statistics about the difference between being 2-3 and 1-4 was 1-4 teams have a 6% chance of making the playoffs, and 2-3 have a 20. So there's a big jump there.
Yeah, it is a big jump. Well, I would call this one another mid-off, but the score shows that the Broncos played pretty darn good this week. I know that the Raiders were missing Adams, who I don't think he was hurt. He just kind of decided not to play. I think there's still trade rumors out there.
They claimed it as an injury, but I don't think it was an injury.
Yeah. And then did O'Connell start the game?
Nope, he finished it, though.
Okay. So, yeah, we're seeing quarterback changes all over the place this week. So, Raiders are in shambles again, it looks like. They got a couple wins early in the season. We thought Minshew Mania might be a thing this year. It turns out it was not. And the Broncos, seems like they have some down weeks, but then they have some up weeks. And even in their down weeks, their defense still looks really good. I mean, I know we've praised Patrick Surtain multiple times this year, and he didn't really have a number one receiver to shut down this week, but their defense, I mean, still got it done.
Well, because of it, he got a 100-yard pick six in this game. I saw that.
Did he really? Yeah.
Yeah, he's played outstanding. This is their third straight win, I think now, which is
Dang.
kind of wild. I mean, I don't really remember the last two games they've played. I know one I think was against the Jets, and it was like a 10-9 game, something ugly. And then I don't remember what the other game was.
Seahawks
But
are ugly.
Bo Nix is finding a little bit of momentum. They're winning games, and
It is.
they have a winning record. They're 3-2. That's better than a lot of teams in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it is. Better than our teams.
Yeah.
Which I guess we can go ahead and get into this game.
What happened,
Well,
Dan?
if you want to beat the 49ers, here's what you got to do. Let them get up multiple possessions, like about 10 points or so in the fourth quarter, and then just watch them hand you the game. That's what's going to happen. It's happened multiple times. It's happened in both Super Bowls we went to. It's happened multiple times this year. I mean, you look at the box score thinking about this game. Purdy had 2 picks. Mason lost a fumble. That doesn't help for sure. Shot ourselves in the foot. I mean, it really feels like the only bright spot from this game was that Ayuk finally figured out how to play football again and decided that he may be worth the $30 million. I mean, he had over almost 150 receiving yards. But on the defense, it just looks like it's Fred Warner and a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of special teams players. I mean, I saw where, what's his name? Devondre Campbell, middle linebacker for us, who is old and washed and just somebody that's playing in the absence of Dre Greenlaw right now. He finally made a good play, or what you thought was a good play at the time. He batted down one of Kyler Murray's passes. Like he rushed the passer, batted the ball down. Like, okay, that's a good play. And then I see a clip on Twitter going back during the game where if he wouldn't have batted the ball down, Fred Warner was right here with his hands up with nothing but green grass ahead of him. It would have been a pick six, and we would have won the game. So, I mean, even whenever he does something right, it's not the right thing to do. Mason is still, I mean, he averaged 6 yards a carry this game, but he lost a fumble, didn't get in the end zone. He's starting. It seems like he's gotten worse every week somehow. Definitely not McCaffrey. You're finding that out more and more every week. Kittle's been having a good year. For whatever reason, we're not using Juwan Jennings anymore. I guess we only decided to use him whenever everyone was hurt, and it didn't matter how good he did that game. We're not going to use him anymore. It's frustrating. It's frustrating when you have this talented of a roster and nothing to show for it, and you keep losing these close games whenever you have double-digit leads in the fourth quarter or the second half. I don't know what we have to do to learn how to close out games. You would think with like a Shanahan running system, you'd be able to close them out better, but it just seems like time and time again we get up in the fourth quarter and somehow find a way to lose. And that's not a position you want to be in. Got a big game this week that we'll hit on here in a little bit, but we got to figure it out. And time's running out to figure it out. We're in the midst of division game after division game.
Do you think this is a Shanahan issue?
It's hard to put him. It's hard to say it's a Shanahan issue because of his pedigree and how he's consistently gotten us to either the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. But it seems like for whatever reason this year, the play action passes, he's not calling them as much. He's not. I don't know. I don't want to call it a Shanahan issue yet. I know a lot of people are. I still think it's more of a DC issue. Like, can't stop a mobile quarterback to save our lives. You have a mobile quarterback, we're cooked. But I don't know, man. I mean, if this doesn't pick up at all, it's definitely going to be looked at as a Shanahan issue before too long. And
From an outsider's perspective, I think it's an easy thing to say that that it isn't a Shanahan issue because he's the only common denominator since all these years of blowing leads or losing the big game or.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do I think he's a good coach? Obviously, you don't do what he's done without being a good coach. But I don't know if he has a problem with I don't know why he has such a problem with finishing games. I don't know what the deal is with that.
I mean, you can look at that all the way back to the Falcons Super Bowl game against the Patriots, the 28-3 loss. And he was just an offensive coordinator there, but still found a way to lose that game. I mean,
it's true. It's true.
We're in that tough spot where it's like you have a good coach and you're typically getting good results every year where you're either going to the playoffs, going deep in the playoffs, and then just coming up short time and time again. So you don't want to fire the coach that's getting you to the playoffs and getting you to the Super Bowl multiple times in the last decade. But if we, for some reason, fell off and derailed this year and didn't make the playoffs, especially now that we have majority of our players back. I know McCaffrey, we don't know if we'll even see him again this season. But I think if there was some large derailment this year, especially in the division games, eyes would definitely be on Shanahan, and I guess you'd consider him on the hot seat. So we'll have to see about that.
So, yeah, the next game was Giants-Seahawks. Giants had a very surprising win. They were without Malik Neighbors, but they played really well. I think it's easy to say this is the best Danny Dimes has played all year.
Absolutely.
He was spinning the ball pretty well. Seahawks, up to this point, have had a pretty good season, but this is one that, looking at the end of the year, they'll probably wish they had back. Losing at home to the Giants, who have been struggling, is probably not the greatest place to be. But, I mean, the Giants were a couple plays away from beating the Cowboys a week ago. I mean, I think they're definitely trending upwards. If Danny Dimes doesn't, if he does nothing to hurt the team, they have a good chance of winning every week. It's just
absolutely.
There's just moments where you're like, he can't help it but make a terrible decision, and that's when it hurts him. And
yeah, their defense is playing good. Love to see the Seahawks loss right here. It was absolutely huge for us. I'll get into more of the division standings when we cover next week's game. But yeah, I mean, especially without Malik Neighbors, nobody was expecting the Giants to win this game, and that's football, and that's what we love about football. We hit on that earlier. But, I mean, Giants have a good defense. I think not a lot of people talk about their defense, but between Dexter Lawrence and everyone like that over there, they're playing quietly good ball whenever Daniel Jones doesn't screw it up. I mean, hopefully they can keep it going. I know that they kind of have a tough division they're in with the Eagles and the Commanders and the Cowboys, so nobody's expecting them to win their division by any means, but maybe they could play spoiler for some other divisions, or who knows, maybe even try and push for a wild card spot at the end of the year. I think that's far-fetched at this point, but we'll have to see. Who knows? It's early in the season. So next we got the Packers-Rams, which, once again, thank you, Packers, for beating the Rams, because this was another big – it's time to see some of the NFC West rivals lose. And, I mean, we both thought the Packers would get it done. The Rams looked better than I thought they would, at least based off the final score of the game. But I think the Packers are probably going to go on a little run here with Jordan Love. I think he's getting better and better each week coming off that injury. And once they get back up to full power, and whenever he's 100% healthy, they could definitely make a run in their division. I know the Vikings are 5-0. It's going to be hard to catch a 5-0 team, but I mean, they didn't do too bad without Jordan Love. And a couple wins start going their way, a couple losses start. I mean, Vikings start to run out of luck. Who knows? The NFC North gets really interesting, especially with the Bears trending up and the Lions still being the Lions.
I mean, in this league, just as fast as you can go 5-0, you can go 0-5. It's
Exactly.
between injuries or just bad luck. I mean, it happens. So it's way too early in the season to crown anyone a division champion. I really
Right.
don't think there's a single division where you can full-heartedly, 100% bet your life on someone winning it. And
Maybe the West, maybe AFC West.
I was going to say the only one would be maybe AFC West with the Chiefs, just because Chargers aren't really doing much, Raiders aren't doing much, but the Broncos are 3-2. So
Who
you just
knows?
don't know. You don't know.
That would be crazy. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the Vikings could completely derail in the next 5 weeks, and nobody would be even talking about how they started the season anymore.
And I think the only other division would probably be the AFC North, just
With the
because.
Steelers?
No, AFC East. Sorry, with
The
the
Bills?
Bills. Just because
Yeah.
Jets aren't doing much, Dolphins are without Tua, and
And
then
Patriots.
struggle.
Patriots.
So, but if
Yeah.
I really just want to know if Tua if Tua is coming back, because the Bills have lost a couple games in a row now, and the Dolphins can make it interesting if they're fully healthy. We know that they can score a ton of points. We've seen it, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then
Absolutely.
our Sunday night game was Cowboys Steelers. Cowboys got the win on the road. I know we both sat here and picked the Steelers at home, especially with how banged up the Cowboys was. This is kind of surprising. Steelers didn't necessarily play bad. I don't think Justin Fields played bad, but I would have expected a little bit different. I think Dak just I think he knew that he needed to kind of put on a show a little bit to be able to win this game, and he did. And they got it done. They did. I don't know how many Dak ended up throwing for passing yards, but I know at least in the first half, he was tearing it up. So
Yeah, for sure. Low scoring game. But I mean, hey, both teams have a solid defense, and I think the better offense pulled it out. That brings us to Monday night, last night. Didn't watch too much of this game, but I mean, the Chiefs, I've heard that, I know that Derek Carr did not have his best performance by any means. And I think he actually exited the game late in the game. So, I mean, the Chiefs are going to chief, and it looks like they're still chiefing without their number one wide receiver. I mean, Mahomes was out there making Juju Smith-Schuster look good. And if he can do that, then anyone, it's Patrick Mahomes. They're going to look good.
And you're starting to see more and more of a Kelsey role as we go on,
Right.
which is expected every season.
I think they may have not wanted to show that early in the season if they didn't have to. I think their plan going into the season was kind of what they did last season, kind of just coast into the playoffs. And then whenever they got there, inevitably unleash Kelsey for the 4-week run. I mean, I know that was kind of their recipe to success last year, but
I think
they don't have a choice.
Mahomes ended up throwing for over 300 yards. He was pretty efficient. Let me pull up his stat line here, because it seemed like he was spreading the ball all over the place to a bunch of different names. Let me pull up the box score. We had Mahomes throw for 331. No touchdowns. No touchdowns, one interception. I think Mahomes still has a even touchdown to interception ratio on the season, which is kind of wild.
That's crazy.
And they're 5-0. Welcome back, Kareem Hunt, to the league. 27 carries, 102 yards.
I needed him to do
I mean,
A little bit worse.
Juju. If anyone told me going into this week that Juju was going to have 7 catches, 130 yards, I would be a little confused. I'm sure his over/under was not very high. Kelsey had 70 yards. Hardman had 33 yards. Noah Gray had 29 yards. Worthy had 25 yards. Pirine had 24. Kareem Hunt had 15. I mean, they spread the ball around, and there was a lot of questions, with their best receiver going down. But it doesn't seem like, as time has gone on, it seems less and less of his receivers being good, and it's just Mahomes. Like I know it sounds like we're glazing Mahomes, and I hate it, and I really do. I don't, but like you have to understand greatness when it's happening, and that's what's happening. I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
you can put anyone out there in the last 5 years, doesn't matter the name, and they're going to perform.
Yeah, and we've only seen that kind of, that kind of consistency with very few other quarterbacks in our lifetime, where just it doesn't matter who their receivers are; they don't need a top guy, and they can go out there and produce and at least get wins. So yeah, don't bet against the Chiefs ever. I
We
don't
won't.
care who tells you that. I don't care what game it is. Don't bet against the Chiefs. And they're 5-0 going into a bye week. So that wraps up week 5. Let's get into week 6. All right. Leading off with Thursday night football. Got the Niners in Seattle. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to take the Niners, but I already told Tegan before this podcast started that I was not going to be mad at him if he took the Seahawks. However, as bad as we're doing, and I mean, our division isn't doing much better. It's currently Seattle at 3-2, Cardinals above us at 2-3, just because they have the head-to-head win against us. Us in third at 2-3. I believe the Rams are 1-4. So if we win this game and the Packers beat the Cardinals, Rams are on bye, all of a sudden we're at the top of the division again. So I mean, I know things might look bleak right now in San Francisco, but we can turn it around, and I believe we're going to this week. Gino's going to ride back. I'm probably most worried about Kenneth Walker. He seems, our run defense has not been the best this year. And, DK Metcalf seems to always have a good game against us for whatever reason. It seems like he has Charvarius Ward's number. And especially with the way our defense is playing this year, it's a little nerve-wracking. But, yeah, I'll be watching this game and hopefully not sweating too bad. But I'm going to take the Niners.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Niners are winning this game. They're not going to 2-4. If they do, then this might just be a really bad season.
Yeah,
Seahawks have not played anybody relevant that they've won against. Best team they've beaten, I guess, is the Broncos, but we don't really know much about the Broncos. They're kind of been hit or miss. So yeah, I think y'all take this one.
Good deal.
Then
you want to hit us off with the London game?
Oh, wonderful. We have another London game this week. Jags Bears. I think the Jags have I think they have a contract or something with London, for a long-term contract. Because
I think they do too.
And because they've played there every year. And I think what it was is they were a new franchise, and the owner wanted to expand their fan base, so he decided to go overseas and play every year.
Makes sense.
Don't know how many Jaguar fans there are in London, but they're there every year. So, with all that being said, I think the Bears winning again this week. Caleb Williams is kind of going on the right track. The only thing that concerns me is it's in London, so weird stuff happens. The Jaguars, I think, are going to fall to 1-5, which is really bad. But I don't know. I'm going to have to go with the Bears on this one.
Yeah, and for the reasons that you started off with is the reasons I'm going to go with the Jaguars. It's almost like a home game for them over there. The amount they play there. Um, I know ETN's out, and normally in these overseas games, you look at which team has the better run game. But even with Bigsby in, I mean, DeAndre Swift isn't crazy special in Chicago. The only thing I would be worried about is Caleb Williams defying all odds and going out there and throwing it all around like he did last week. But we typically don't see teams throw it all around in these early morning London games. And like you said, weird stuff happens. And if you're going to take an upset, I think, I mean, I don't even know if they are an upset. They may be favored for all I know. But I'm going to take the Jags, improve to 2-4, and keep it rolling.
Well, now I might just have to wake up Sunday morning and actually watch this game. So
That brings us to the 1 o'clock slate. First off, we got some good divisional matchups this week. Bucks Saints. This one is, haven't they already played this year, or was that Saints Falcons? I don't think they would have played twice by now, have they?
uh, no, no.
Okay. So this is their first meeting this year. I probably would have taken the Saints a couple weeks ago whenever they were playing really well, but I think I'm going to ride the Bucks here and just watch Baker Mayfield to continue to throw it all over the place and keep Mike Evans and Chris Godwin involved. And yeah, I'm going to take the Bucks. I mean, I don't know what the status is on Derek Carr, how bad his injury was at the end of the game, or if it was just because they were losing. But short week for them too.
I'm going to agree and go with the Bucks. The reason why is the Saints are kind of been on a downward spiral, and the Bucks, on the other hand, they did lose last week, but against the Falcons, but they did not play bad in that game. They still put up 30 points, so they've given me no reason to believe that they can't score, and I think they're going to get back to it in the win column here and win a nice divisional game.
Sounds good.
Which then is going to lead us into what I think could probably be the most underrated game of the week. Ravens Commanders. For the last many, many years, you would sit here and just be like, the Ravens are going to win this one and with no issue. However, Jane Daniels is not playing the same way that the Commanders have been playing over the last few years. He's made them put up a ton of points. Ravens have kind of been hot the last couple of weeks, and I think, and so have the Commanders, but I do think the Ravens are going to end up losing this game. I think this is just going to be another step in the direction of Jaden Daniels in his Rookie of the Year run, and I think they surprised a lot of people in this one. People have been waiting for them what they're going to do against another good team, and this is their chance to show it.
Yeah, so if the Commanders win, they will definitely surprise a lot of people, me being included, or if the Commanders win, they'll surprise a lot of people, me being included, because I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm just going to ride with the veterans in this game. I think that, and I'm not out on Jaden Daniels at all. He's been playing great, but he's going to face some adversity somewhere along his career, and I think this might be that first step of true adversity he faces with just a tough defense, a tough running game that's going to keep control of the clock the entire game. They're at home. Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens, look for Lamar and Henry to do their thing, and if they have to pass it, Zay Flowers has been playing well recently. Which will get us into Packers-Cardinals. I'm going with the Packers this game, mainly for one, I need the Cardinals to lose. So I'd be very unhappy if they won. For two, I think the Packers are just going to continue to keep getting better every week since Jordan Love's been back. I mean, we should have beat the Cardinals. It's not like they played – I mean, I guess they played better than us. They beat us, but I think we should have beat them. So I'm going to take the Packers here. What do you think?
I am going to go with the Packers in this one, being it's in Lambeau Field, and the Cardinals have shown a lot of ups, but also a lot of downs already this part of the season. At any given moment, they can put up a ton of points, but it hasn't necessarily been super consistent.
Right.
I do think Jordan Love started out the game bad last week, and he had a bad game the previous week. But he finished really strong, ended up getting the win, and I think he's just going to roll over as he gets healthier and healthier. I think they win this one at home.
Sounds good. Let's hear it about your Titans.
Um, well, obviously I'm picking us to win, so you can just write that down. But as
Right.
far as preview, I looked at Anthony Richardson's status during the show already. He's listed as questionable, and we could see him come back this game, is what the report was, which is about as vague as it gets. And then the other part of the report was, despite Joe Flacco throwing 359 yards last week, the Colts seem to still think Anthony Richardson is quarterback one when he is healthy. Which, as a Titans fan, I don't know if I'd rather see. I think I might rather see Anthony Richardson. Especially if he's banged up. I think we have a higher chance against him. Now, does he potentially set up the deep ball a little bit better as far as threat? For sure. But Flacco was spinning the ball deep too. I mean, he just can't throw it as far, but he's hitting open receivers consistently, which Anthony Richardson was not. And on the Titans side of things, I think that bye week was probably huge for us, getting a win right before the bye week. And Will Levis is supposed to be starting if he is healthy. I think both quarterbacks give us a good chance of winning this game in particular. Colts defense has looked a little wishy-washy the Jags put up a ton of points on them. I think Titans win, and it's going to get us back to 2-3, getting inching closer and closer to 500 again, and get us going. But I don't know. I'm honestly a little bit. I don't. The youth and talent of Anthony Richardson scares me, but I know what I'm getting out of Joe Flacco, and that's consistency. So I don't know who I'd rather see in this. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Titans too, but if Joe Flacco ends up playing, I'm definitely going to be more worried about that pick. I think the Titans will be able to rely on their run game because the Colts, I've said it time and time again in this podcast, the Colts' run defense has been paper thin the entire season. From an outsider's perspective, I don't think it's crazy to say that both teams might be starting the quarterback they shouldn't be. I think that Rudolph may give them a better chance to win than Levis, and Flacco may definitely gives the Colts a better chance to win than Anthony Richardson, in my opinion. As exciting as some of the plays Anthony Richardson can make, especially on a mediocre to bad team, you got to go with the consistency. I do think that gap is a lot larger than Mason Rudolph and Will Levis. Levis is still young. Levis has to. I don't think it's time to give up on Levis just yet. I was just kind of making a jab there. But I think the Titans are going to win. And let's hope that Flacco doesn't play. And also, Jonathan Taylor also doesn't play. Because if Flacco played for some reason and Jonathan Taylor came back, then I'd be really worried. But as of now, I'm on the Titans. So next we got Texans-Patriots. Do you think we see a Drake May masterclass first week? Because I don't think we're going to see that. Texans are going to win this game. I don't know. It would be exciting to see the Patriots come out and win their first week with Drake May, but I think the Texans defense is going to get back there and rattle the rookie, and they're going to find a way to win the game, even in the absence of Mixon, and I don't think Nico Collins is playing this week either.
For fun, I'm going with the Patriots. And why do I think it's going to be fun? Drake May is playing. and it's a home game. And you know dang well what those fans are going to do. They are going to pack the stadium because they know Drake May, they're who they think is their future, is playing his first game. And I think the Texans have not played their best ball, and I think this is going to be a little bit embarrassing for them. I think they lose. I think they lose this game somehow, some way. Do I think the Texans are the better team? Absolutely. I do think they're the better team. And if they won by a lot, I wouldn't be necessarily shocked. It would just, I think the Patriots just have a way of finding ways to keep their franchise going. And somehow, some way, I feel like Drake May is going to end up being good.
That'd be
And
nuts.
maybe he'll have a lucky good first start. And I think that's what I'm kind of rooting for.
Sounds good. That brings us to three games where we picked against each other so far. Just real quick before we head into the Browns-Eagles game, I did want to point out that this week you do have the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Rams, and the Chiefs all on byes. So both of your undefeated teams in the league are on byes this week, and two of your more injury-riddled teams are on byes this week. So don't have to worry about any of that. But yeah, getting into the Eagles and Browns, I'm going to take the Eagles at home. I don't think there's too much to say about it. Browns haven't been playing good. Deshaun hasn't been playing good. Chubb's still not back. And I don't think I'll take the Browns until Chubb comes back, and probably not even when he comes back. I'll probably have to see what he does first. So I'm going to take the Eagles.
I am also going to take the Eagles. I think this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. The Eagles have not necessarily been playing good with all these injuries. I don't know if A.J. Brown's supposed to be back or Devontae Smith or what the deal is. I think they're just going to probably lean pretty heavy on Saquon Barkley, as they have been. Find a way to win this game at home. But I don't expect it to be pretty.
Me neither.
So now we got Broncos-Chargers, divisional matchup, right?
Yes.
And Broncos are home in this one. Chargers, I think, they're coming off a bye. Is that because I don't think they played last week?
Yeah, they are.
I think the Chargers are going to win this one on the road. Both teams are kind of, you don't really know what to expect. I just don't imagine the Broncos winning 4 straight. If they do, we're going to start considering them as contenders, and I don't think they're there yet with Bo Nix. And I think Harbaugh might have something up his sleeve to find a way to win this one. And so I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah. At first, I wanted to go with the Broncos just because their defense and everything, but I think Harbaugh's going to outcoach the Broncos this game, and they're going to find a way to win. They don't really have like a wide receiver one that you can shut down with PS2, and their running game is decent. Herbert was a little bit banged up before the bye week, but he's healthy now, so I'm going to take the Chargers as well.
So the next game we got is the Steelers and the Raiders. The Raiders are home in this one in the black hole. I just don't think the Raiders are all that, especially if they move on to O'Connell versus Minshew. I don't think either one of them is good enough to beat the Steelers, so I'm going to go with the Steelers on this one. I know the Steelers lost kind of a disappointing game last week against the Cowboys, but I think they're going to get back in the win column in this one.
I agree. I got Steelers here. I mean, Raiders just aren't good. I'm sure with our luck so far this season, they'll probably prove us wrong and beat the Steelers. But as of now, I'm going to take the Raiders. Or I'm going to take the Steelers. Sorry. Which leads us into the Falcons-Panthers. Divisional matchup. I think that might be the only thing I can say about this game. But other than that, I think the Falcons are going to win and probably win big.
Yeah, the whole Andy Dalton experiment I think is done with. I don't think they're moving on for him just yet. However, Falcons are playing really, really good. And I think they continue that trend, and they're going to win this game. And it's just going to make that division even that much more entertaining with the Bucs and the Saints, which we did. I did, as we were filming this, I got word online that Derek Carr is out for multiple weeks, but I mean, we picked the Bucks to beat the Saints anyways. So it's really looking like Falcons Bucks are kind of the two favorites for that division now. And I mean, they played last week, and it was an awesome, awesome game. And I'm kind of excited for when they play later in this season. But yeah, give me the Atlanta Falcons as well.
Sounds good. That moves us on to the Lions Cowboys. I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, so it's the last game of our 4 o'clock slate. Cowboys haven't really played the best. I know they're banged up here or there on the defense or on the offensive line. The Lions are really starting to hit their stride, it feels like. I think they had a bye last week as well.
Yep.
So
Coming
they're
off a bye.
well rested, which hopefully didn't kind of kill the momentum that they were gaining because their offense was firing on all cylinders. I'm going to go with the Lions to win at Jerry's World. And I really do think that their offense is going to be too much for the Cowboys. The Cowboys aren't putting enough points if this turns into a shootout. And, yeah, give me Detroit.
I agree. The Lions are one of the more scary teams in the NFC right now. I mean, right before their bye week, Jared Goff went like 18 for 18, had a perfect game. Now they don't just have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They also have Jameson Williams, who's putting up big numbers, and he's kind of stretching the field vertically where Amon-Ra St. Brown's coming underneath and getting a bunch of those underneath targets and stretching it more horizontally. So they got a 1-2 punch at receiver and a 1-2 punch at running back with David Montgomery, who's kind of more consistent, going to get you those nitty-gritty yards, and then Jahmyr Gibbs, who, I mean, has the ability to take it to the house anytime he has the ball in his hands. So I'm going to take the Lions as well. I know it's at home, and the Cowboys may make us eat our words, but I got the Lions. And that leads us into the last game on Sunday, Sunday Night Football, in the Bengals versus the Giants. Last time I checked, Malik Neighbors is questionable. I don't know what that means, but the Bengals are 1-4. They lost a close one last week, and they didn't play bad. I'm probably going to take the Bengals in this one. I don't think they go to 1-5. That would be crazy if they do. But, I mean, the Giants haven't been playing bad ball, and I wouldn't be all that surprised to see them win on a big stage like this.
I'm going to go with the Giants, whether or not they have Neighbors or not. I still think that they're playing good, and I think the Bengals are at a point in the season where there might be a little bit of doubt creeping into that locker room, and especially if they lost this one, it would like really, really go downhill really fast, dropping to 1-5. I just think MetLife is going to be a packed stadium. It's a Sunday night game. It's at home. They're starting to see a little bit better ball out of their team, so they're a little bit more excited. I think Malik Neighbors is going to end up playing in this game. I know he's listed as questionable and it's up in the air, but concussion, I mean, depending on the severity of it, it's been a couple weeks now, and
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if they play him, whether they should or shouldn't. That's been the problem in the NFL. But I think he'll probably play, and if he doesn't, I mean, Slayton had a great game last week in filling in for him. Robinson's been good. They've been running the ball way better than I thought they would without Saquon somehow. But I think they win a big one, and I don't know what's their record now. Is it
The Giants?
Yeah?
I think they might be 3-2 as well, or 2-3. Yeah,
2-3.
Giants.
I think
Giants are right in there with us.
Yeah, if they get in there and get to 500, that's a huge win. It's a huge win.
It absolutely is. I'll let you kick off the Monday Night Football game, but it looks like MetLife is going to have a 24-hour turnaround from one game to another.
Prime time for both of them, and this one's interesting now with Robert Salah getting fired this week. I think the Bills are going to bounce back and start playing good again. It seems like Josh Allen in prime time is another animal, and I don't know what to expect from the Jets with their interim head coach. Like I said earlier in this episode, when that happens, it goes one or two ways. They could rally around him and get really, really hyped up for this game, and Rodgers plays well and they win. But I think the safe bet is the Bills. It could be the incorrect bet, but I think that's who I'm going with.
I'm going to take the safe route as well. Just so many unknowns about the Bills or about the Jets right now. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick them in this situation. I know they're at home on prime time, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked that good. Brees Hall, whether he's been getting the ball as much as he should or not, that's not for me to debate. But he hasn't been putting up the numbers we thought he was going to put up. Garrett Wilson's kind of been disappointing as well. I'm going to rock with Buffalo.
So, what's our final tallies for this one?
We have 4 disagreements. We got Jaguars, Bears. I picked Jaguars. You picked Bears. Texans, Patriots. I had the Texans. You had the Patriots. Commanders, Ravens. I had the Ravens. You had the Commanders. And Bengals, Giants. Where I had the Bengals and you had the Giants.
Well, that's all the games we got. So look out on social media. I think we're going to try to put together a anytime touchdown parlay once everybody's listed as, playing or not playing, so we don't waste our time or money on somebody that's not even going to play this weekend. And then we'll post that somewhere probably on Instagram or Twitter, which then gets me to the next part. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok, where you can see our clips. Have a good weekend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week with our college football episode on Wednesday. But yeah, thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.